John Ulzheimer is known as one of our nation's most recognized credit experts. Having worked for 28 years in the credit industry, John has become one of the most prolific speakers about credit and the go-to authority on answers to credit-related questions. Credit Countdown with John Ulzheimer.
Hey there, this is John Ulzheimer. I am a consumer credit expert. I have almost 30 years of experience in the credit industry. I've spent time at FICO, which is the company behind the FICO credit scoring system, and Equifax, which is one of the 3 generally recognized credit bureaus in the US. So I've an interesting kind of counterculture question that I got recently that I wanna address. I get tons and tons of questions from people asking about how long certain negative information is allowed to remain on their credit reports. So late payments, defaulted accounts, collections, public records, anything that indicates, mismanagement of their finances in some way. How long is that stuff going to be on my credit report, John? I very, very rarely, if ever, get the question, how long can all my good stuff remain on my credit report? It's actually a very interesting question because most people who are kind of uber engaged with their credit reports are either doing so because they're smart managers of their credit, which is fantastic, or they have, otherwise poor credit and they're really interested in trying to improve their credit. So they've almost become engaged with their credit out of necessity because they're sick and tired of getting declined and they're sick and tired of paying high interest rates on loans. And so the question about how long can the good stuff remain, we really have to kind of break into the Fair Credit Reporting Act a little bit in order to answer this question. And just for clarity, I'm not a lawyer, and even in my expert witness work, expert witnesses are not allowed to give legal conclusions or have legal opinions. And so in other words, when I'm writing an expert report in a lawsuit, it's not permitted for me to say things like, so-and-so broke the law or so-and-so complied with the law. That's a legal conclusion. That's something that the jury is tasked with determining, not expert witnesses. And so even though I'm about to give you some kind of perspective with respect to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, this is not and should not be considered legal advice. You need to go to an attorney to get legal advice. So the question about how long can good stuff remain on a credit report is a good one because a lot of people are under the impression that all information must eventually be removed from a credit report, and that's just simply not true. Negative information has to be removed because of the FCRA, the language in the statute, and normally that's about 7 years. There really is there's no language in the Fair Credit Reporting Act that defines when the good stuff, so in other words, accounts that have been paid on time, never went into any form of delinquency, never went into any form of default. There is no language in the Fair Credit Reporting Act that indicates when that information has to be removed. And so really it's a matter of, does it ever have to be removed? And the answer is no, it doesn't. You can have information about your credit history, loans that you've had over time, credit cards that you've had over time that have all been paid on time, and they can stay on your credit reports indefinitely. And really that's a matter of choice by the credit reporting agencies, whether or not they want to maintain that information or not. My advice to consumers is, to the extent you want it, is I would never argue with a credit reporting agency to try to get positive information removed. There are some people, I'm related to one of them, that think that just because you pay off something that it shouldn't be on your credit report any longer because your relationship is done with that creditor and the record of that should be purged from the system. Now, I always kind of go back to the example of, well, what if you made really good grades in high school or really good grades in college? Would you ever want that to go away, the history of that to go away? I certainly wouldn't. And so my advice has always been, don't ever argue with the credit bureaus to have positive information removed from your credit reports. Because first off, there's no requirement for that information to be removed. So by statute, there is no requirement. Having said that, the credit reporting agencies all have policies in place, at least at the time of this video, where they will remove inactive positive accounts after a decade, so 10 years. So negative stuff generally has to be removed after 7 years. Positive stuff, as a matter of policy, will be removed after a decade. And so, is that problematic? I'm not sure it's problematic. Unless you've completely gone off the credit grid, you have likely accumulated new credit accounts, and if you're paying your stuff on time, then that's great because you're kind of always populating your credit reports with positive information. So it's 10 years. It's not a rule. It's just a choice. It's a policy. And my suggestion is to keep paying your bills on time. To the extent that you choose to have credit, keep paying the bills on time. Don't ever miss your payments, and keep populating your credit reports with that positive information that never has to be removed. So if you have any other questions about credit reporting, drop them in the comment section below, and I appreciate your time, and we'll talk again soon. Have a good rest of your day.
For more videos and credit tips from John Ulzheimer, go to www.tradelinesupply.com.